Hey, everybody. Matt Michaels here on the DeFalco Files with the owner and creator of FSW, the future stars of wrestling here in Las Vegas, Mr. Joe DeFalco. Joe, how's it going this week?
It's going way better than last week.
I think the question really is, do the wrestlers enjoy it better when Joe can't talk? Or do they like it better when Joe can just shoot the truth and make them cry?
I guess it depends on which wrestler you're asking about. You know, polar opposites. Kind of like Trump. You know what I mean? It's like you either really hate you or they really love you. There's like not a lot of in between with me. It seems like. I'm the best dude ever to some of these guys, and I'm the biggest piece of shit to others. So, what can you do?
Is that what you what you feel your epitaph will read? Joe DeFalco. Some people loved him. Some people thought he was a piece of shit.
Exactly. And it is what it is. I guess in that situation, it means you've actually at least accomplished something in life. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Well, hey, if you actually accomplish the point where you can have an epitaph attached to yourself, you've done something right or something really wrong. So it all comes back in the end.
At least I haven't killed anybody yet. Danny Rose is still on that list.
I was going to say, which of the Suavecitos is closest?
Ricky's the guy who tries to schmooze things.
We're going to talk a little bit about Los Suavecitos here. We just had a show this past weekend. It was a high octane that was setting up essentially the upcoming 13th anniversary show on Sunday the 19th. And with this, the high octane calm before the storm. That's what I was looking for. Calm before the storm. We got a couple of the qualifiers for the case in the cash ladder match.
I just saw reading the scroll. At what show did Action Jackson qualify for the cash in the case? I'm curious.
Oh, should be. Did I put Jackson?
Yes, you did. It's Carl Weathers coming out of retirement for an appearance at the cash in the case. The newest member of the faction.
Ice's grandpa?
Yeah.
That would be kind of a fun idea.
I'm pretty sure the fans would much rather see Carl Weathers than Action Braxton in that match.
Well, you know what? Let's talk about Braxton. He's more so really known for his vibrato, his voice, his overselling the faction and hype and all of that stuff that goes with him. But are we finally seeing him kind of break through and show that, hey, I've got more to offer than just being a mouthpiece?
Well, he feels, he should have been the heavyweight champion 2 years ago. So, again, it depends on who you talk to in situations. He'll tell you he's the most underutilized talent in probably FSW history.
And maybe even pro wrestling history as well.
Possibly,
Well, it's shaping up to be a pretty big show for the faction. You have TBD, who are the tag team champions, and Hero and Shogun are going to be defending the titles against Lights Camera Factions very own Fresco and Watson. Are you?
Unless Braxton sticks himself in that match and kicks out one of the two, you know what I mean? Being the self-proclaimed leader of the group, I guess he could do whatever he wants.
Could we see a triple him go for the tag titles, the cash in the case, and with the cash in the case, am I correct? If he wanted to, and Ice Williams defeats Hammerstone for the championship, he could cash in on Ice, right?
He could. It could be for the supremacy of the faction.
Is he the Farouk and Ice the Rock kind of when that went down with the Nation of Domination? Could we see if Ice does beat Hammerstone? Could we see tension in the faction, or are those guys so tight knit that whatever goes, they're there for each other?
Now, in my opinion, everybody follows the lead of Ice Williams.
Right.
In my opinion. In Braxton's opinion, everybody listens to him. Because I've talked with Fresco and, we talk about certain things, and sometimes Braxton shows up. And for some reason, Fresco always seems to have an eye roll going really bad when the topic of conversation becomes becomes Braxton. So, maybe he just has a bad twitch. I don't know. I don't want to start anything between them. But, Watson's is the quiet guy, who carries a pretty big stick when he's in there.
Yeah.
But, in every situation for a faction like that or a group to work, you have to have the leaders and you have to have the workers, or there becomes that interfriction, as you said, of, well, I'm the best. No, I'm the best. Well, I'm the best. Well, Watson just goes in and does his job. Yeah. Now, Fresco has started. He's done his podcast. He's really improved a lot. From when he was in the tag team with the Pitbull imitator Mondo Dinero back in the day.
That's right.
But he's doing great in Miami. I heard he's got a lot of gigs lined up. Doing impersonation shows. He's a tribute artist, I believe. He might be performing with Santana Jackson any day. You may want to check Ticketmaster for tickets on that one. But, Fresco is starting to feel like he's a big-time player, Nobody on that resume could say they beat Kenny King. So If I'm Fresco, I'm saying, hey, I think I should be the fucking leader of this group. So eventually it's going to be based on championships. So if somebody wins a championship and it's a Braxton or a Fresco, they're going to have, the leverage. They're going to have the juice. They're going to have the power, and all three have an opportunity. Now, Braxton's different. If he won the cash in the case, he'd have his time to pick and choose. But all three have an opportunity to become champions in reality at the anniversary show.
Yeah. Speaking of Watson, what are your takes or opinions on the work he's done for himself in terms of the shape he's gotten himself into and some of the new, style that he's bringing? Because him and Fresco were doing some stuff that you didn't necessarily see them do before. Is Watson really now starting to step up and show that, man, he is, because like you said, he's quiet. So is he really starting to shine in terms of his in-ring skills? Because I think out of all the people in the last since the pandemic and started, I think Watson's one of the guys who's really upped his game in terms of his his in ring ability and his physical appearance.
Well, he always had the in-ring ability because early on he had good mentors and guys like Hammerstone and Graves and things like that. I'll be honest, I think the pandemic kind of changed the way things are. Usually you see a smaller guy get bigger.
Yeah.
And I see Watson, and I think he was a bigger guy who, in my opinion, has gotten way too small. It's like, I personally think, he needs 20 pounds on him. He probably lost 40.
Yeah.
I think a better number would be a little bulkier. I remember the first time, because he got to remember, these guys haven't wrestled that much. So I can't tell you, oh, yeah. They're in ring work. They've been doing a little more stuff on the outside. They've been kind of laying low since when Ice lost the No Limits Championship. But I haven't seen enough of Watson other than, I saw him doing some stuff, neck breakers off the top rope, things like that I probably haven't noticed that often, in his past. He's like reverse Scott Steiner. He went from a bigger dude, to, the smaller dude instead of the Brian Cage who was small and did cool shit and then got bigger and still did the cool shit.
Right. Oh man. The idea of Ice versus Hammerstone. Hammerstone's had the belt for a while now. We know the faction, of course, is always, present, and there could always be interference from the faction. One of the names that I haven't seen a lot of, and I think the fans would be interested in kind of knowing what the situation is with Graves, and would Graves potentially be there at the anniversary show just in case Hammerstone needed a hand making sure those guys didn't interfere?
It's definitely possible. And the thing is, with so much talent, it isn't anything like WWE or AEW. We understand where we are at in a pecking order. But when it comes to our mainstays, sometimes there isn't anything of substance. Can I put Graves in, a random match against somebody? Sure. You can do that. And we probably have done that from when he lost the championship. But there's only so many guys that you could say, okay, well, now we got a spot for three things. And it's like, well, in Natural Born Killers, of course we're going to have a spot for Graves. He's one of the number one guys that we're going to use in that situation. Right. Well, when Hammerstone first got into some issues with the faction, perfect situation for Graves to get involved with. And then the AEW weekend came up, and in reality, not that he was a backup to Tom Lawler, the deal was we were looking for some names, on the major league level of name value, not FSW name value. Because Graves is one of the most popular guys FSW's ever had. And having the Impact champion wrestle, who at the time was the New Japan Openweight champion, and getting that match signed became a big deal. And, we utilized that match. So it left him with no match. And, we have a battle royal that we do every year. And in that battle royal, there's going to be some names that we probably haven't seen in a year or two. And, there's always an open invitation for Graves to be in that. But in reality, it's mainly for return guys who haven't seen, nostalgia, and giving some of the younger talent an opportunity. If Graves wants it, he's on. There's no doubt about it. But I got a message yesterday from Sin Bodhi, and he was like, "Hey, my show got canceled on the 19th. Hey, if you need me, for the anniversary." And it's like, no offense, bro, the show's less than 2 weeks away. We've set up the storylines. We've set up, every match we've announced has a reason for it. And the one that doesn't is the cash in the case. Well, we had qualifying matches for it, and, we have a major announcement this week coming up about the women's championship. And everything isn't set in stone. So I don't want to announce it now, even though by tomorrow we may have that information, but, there's definitely going to be a women's match at the anniversary. Now we're still contemplating what we're doing with that match and how it involves the vacant women's championship. I can say we are leaning toward having a match to crown the champion. Why wouldn't we do it on the biggest show of the year, the anniversary, instead of waiting to high octane at the FSW arena? But we need to have all the players in place to make it work. So, that'll be what I'm working on today. The issue is, after the extremely busy AEW weekend, I felt like shit all week. So we had 3 weeks to prepare. Now we only have less than 2 because I was pretty much out of commission for 5 or 6 days. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, now it's fucking, again, it's scramble mode, but it is what it is.
That's another thing that can probably be on your epitaph is Joe DeFalco, always in scramble mode. Love the scramble.
The king of the scramble.
You had a great, very interesting tag team match where you had Remy and Caljack teaming against Sharp and Brett the Threat. Obviously, Brett and Caljack will be facing each other at the anniversary show, and Remy will be defending the title, the Nevada State title, against Gregory Sharp. Is it fun for you to have these types of, those traditional tag team matches that have two teams that are basically, in feuds, but they've never really tagged with each other? And how much did that allow a guy like Gregory Sharp in that match? It was really cool the way that he almost isolated his own partner and kind of became the boss of Brett the Threat, which is not an easy task for keeping a guy like Brett in check. Is it fun to put together those matches in helping the setup? Because usually you see the traditional matches that are setting up the stories and, the run-ins, etc. But this was kind of cool to see guys that we really haven't seen tag with each other in a scenario that also helped further the storylines.
And that's what it was about. It was talked about a couple months ago, and Remy had brought up that idea of, whether it was at the time, depending on if Jay Vidal was going to be wrestling Eli Everfly for the No Limits. And he had brought up also, hey, what about me and Jay Vidal against, say, Eli Everfly and Gregory Sharp? A lot of story and history in there. And it's like, well, let's see where things take us. You know what I mean? And things really turned, on a dime when Matt Vandergriff won the No Limits Championship. That was not a decision that was made until right before the event. It was that night I was contemplating ideas and things like that. And I'm like, you know what? This would be really cool if we did this, this, and that, because Eli Everfly's had a lot of injuries of late.
Right.
and he decided he pulled out of the AEW weekend. He pulled out of the anniversary show, which we had already known he wasn't going to be part of. But in my mind, immediately after watching Jay Vidal and Eli Everfly, I was pitching for the first ever FSW death match. And it was going to be Jay Vidal versus Eli Everfly. And they were
Wow.
both down with that, But maybe that's something we can revisit down the line because they've had 2 matches and they both have been as good as the other, which is as good as any other match you're going to see.
Right.
Their chemistry is through the roof. I'm a huge fan of Eli Everfly, whether he's flying, whether he's, killing himself, or whether he is, reversing a counter into a submission and mat base wrestling you to death. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's like he can do it all. And then you got Jay Vidal, arguably the most charismatic wrestler in FSW, who's not afraid to take a light tube in the head. He goes down to Florida and he's eating light tubes. So those guys have done so much in the confines of the FSW arena. 30 seconds into the match, they're trying to break chairs and fuck each other up in the bleachers and jumping off the bleachers onto the concrete and shit. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, if this is what you guys want, here you go. Who am I to stop the progress of 2 FSW wrestlers that want to, be at the top of the mountain? I'm
Yeah.
a giving person. You know what I mean?
Well, I suppose too, it's kind of a good thing that Eli's getting a little break because of the fact that after GCW, I don't think there's any light tubes left in this town. So there's got to be a replenish of light tubes after that crazy stuff that went down with that. Um, and again, the Silver Nugget, kudos to them for hosting everyone for the weekend for AEW, and now the anniversary show is going to be there with the bigger scale, and really everyone who's on the show so far have all pretty much proven themselves. Uh, do you think that hype, that nervous energy is raised up a little bit more for the casino shows as opposed to the actual like high octane shows? Do you think the guys get a little more of that taste of adrenaline going in? And is it a chance for them to kind of look at the card and go, okay, we're on here, we're going to bring down the house with this match. We're going to, try to set the bar high right at the beginning, and then everyone else has to up their game. Is that kind of the feel that you get going into it, where everyone is on the top of their game, ready to just give everything they got, so the audience, the fans, can sit back and really just have a fun time and really see maybe some stuff that they haven't seen out of some of the guys before?
Well, it's all about the atmosphere, and the Silver Nugget, Sam's Town, Silverton, Casablanca, that's all big fight feel. Yeah, you know what I mean? Even though we didn't do the hugest numbers at FSW versus Revolver and what we would have liked, you know, there was more people there than that would have been able to fit into the FSW arena.
Yeah.
So the fact there wasn't 600 people there, yeah, it's disappointing on my end, but for a lot of those guys, I remember Sky High when they came to FSW and they got to be on the anniversary show. And that was a big moment for them because they claimed, they bought a ticket and they were at the anniversary show, say the year before or whatever it
Right.
was. And to see all those people in the audience, to be able to perform in them when you're a young wrestler who probably hasn't had matches yet, that's going to be a really big moment,
Yeah.
So we've had guys break out, in those situations, whether it was the Battle Royal or a Rumble, that was kind of where Hero Lou got his first taste before he tore his ACL.
Yeah.
That was maybe to some people, Kevin Cross's coming out party was, in the Rumble where he, beat up a bunch of people. So being at the Silver Nugget, regardless, you're going to be there. Hopefully family and friends are going to be there. It's an opportunity to where, obviously for the younger wrestlers on an FSW show, the Mecca is the be all end all. If you're on the Mecca, Joe DeFalco thinks extremely highly of you to put you in there because that's a show where we're going to bring in, not one or two, but 6, 8, 10 fly-ins that are popular on a national level. The very first match of the Mecca is Remy Marcel versus Willie Mack. And believe me, the card didn't get, any worse, and the card was built up from that. And those guys go out there, you're looking to top that. At the FSW anniversary show, it's a little different. The big matches are the big matches. This year, we're going back to the old ways. We didn't do an anniversary 2 years ago. So when we finally did it again last year, we built everything up for a 2-night event. And since we didn't have the Rumble part was part of day one. So we didn't do our yearly Battle Royal that we would normally do. So no, we'll go back to the Battle Royal. And then August 21st, the decision needs to be made. Are we going to do Against All Odds, which is the show based around the Rumble? Or do we stay in the traditional mode like we used to always do, where August was survival of the fittest, and then November? So we have the date locked in. I'm leaning 70-30 for survival of the fittest and to keep everything in check. That way we can build up into the Rumble match and, start making the dates and finding out the other dates to make sure all the players are going to be on hand, because the Rumble alone is usually 25 or 30 guys. So you add in, 4 other matches, you're talking 40 people on a show. You know what I mean? So, things become different. For the younger guys on this one, they're going to get a lot of opportunity by being in the Battle Royal. I had a post on the student page today. This is how it works, guys. There's guys I haven't been seeing. There's those younger guys that you see on Future Shock that we're here AEW weekend and somehow they can't seem to get off. And those same guys, if I said, hey, you're on the show Saturday, I'm pretty sure guaranteeing that they would have been at the show. Oh, sorry, I got to work my job. I can't make it. Even though my goal in life is to be a professional wrestler, I'm good. I'm not going to be able to make this show. Oh, wait, I'm only supposed to help out? Yeah, I definitely can't make this show. But let me see what I can do if you're going to book me on it. And that's the unfortunate thing,
Yeah.
Sometimes the passion and drive isn't there. Look at the young guns, of FSW. Who would that be? I guess because they've had less than 2 years. You're talking Nick Xander, you're talking Brett the Threat. They both have marquee matches on that show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then some other guys who are kind of a little further along, Lazarus and Ricky Tenacious, they're getting their first opportunity to work a big match at an anniversary show, and along with Damian Drake, who really had nowhere to fit when it came to singles matches, but he's the perfect guy to fit into that situation.
Yeah.
So, we have Ricky Tenacious, we got Laz, Action Braxton's first opportunity to be in a match of that caliber. Damian Drake. I'll announce it today. The only multi-time winner cash in the case, Jacob Austin Young. He will be the 5th participant in the ladder match. And now we're deciding on who's going to be the 6th, man. There's a lot of options. I have one crazy idea. Jay Vidal versus Matt Vandergriff opens the show. The loser of that match enters the cash in the case. You know what I mean? And,
Yeah.
Well, Death Proof, Jacob Austin Young, he's in the cash in the case. A guy of Cody's caliber who's been there for all 13 years, it would be a disrespect for Cody not to be on the main card.
Right.
Funny Bone, not on the main card as of this moment. So is the cash in the case crazily expanded to 8 men? Can we shatter records? One never knows. There's a lot of decisions that need to be made over the next, 12 days, 11 days, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's coming quick.
What happens if Matt Hardy says, "Hey, Joe, I want to be at the anniversary show"? How do I not put him in the cash in the case?
I don't think after seeing him and Jeff wrestle AEW weekend, if Matt Hardy gives you a call, you might want to advise him to take a step back for a while, man. And it's Father's Day the 19th. Obviously, that holiday is going to be something that you can celebrate and bring your dad out to see wrestling, or dad, take the kids, do something you like to do, watch wrestling. You mentioned Funny Bone. We know that if there's any time Funny Bone should be in a match on a card, it's for Father's Day, because Funny Bone's got his own.
Who's got more kids than him in Vegas? You know what
I mean? When you think about that and just the mass of talent, especially with the opportunities now for guys like Ricky Tenacious, like you said, Xander and Brett the Threat in pretty big matches. Xander, he loses the qualifier because Clutch, comes out of nowhere and does the perfect interference with the money. That was literally the money shot for Clutch. So what is behind Clutch?
You just made Glenn King very proud right there. You made Glenn King very proud.
What is it that's driven Clutch finally to come back? Is it seeing what someone like Xander's doing and proving that Clutch can still go?
Well, Clutch and Sugar Brown lost last year at the anniversary show, 2 out of 3 fall match for the tag titles. Right. And in all honesty, conversations right after that kind of didn't go anywhere, because bottom line was they've been multi-time tag team champions. Where do they go? Do they start wrestling Sky High and the Suavecitos? They've been there. They've done that. Now the question became, what's next for the R&B? And as time progressed, I had pitched some ideas, and I'm like, hey, what about this? And in reality, those ideas got moved, because when Death Proof lost the tag titles, it was time to take a step back. Do they tag still? Yeah, here and there when necessary. And we needed them this past weekend, last weekend with Violence is Forever. We felt for them to be on the show, they needed to tag. But on Thursday, Jacob Austin Young was involved in a scramble, so he worked a singles match. Cody worked at the Limitless tournament. Jake worked Davey Richards at the Limitless tournament.
Right.
So the idea was to kind of keep them together but break them apart in terms of matches. Because do we really want to see the Suavecitos and Death Proof? We've probably seen it 2 or 3 times. And in other combinations of 3-way tag, 4-way tag, 8-man tags together, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
So I talked with Clutch, and he seemed to be more ready to do something. And, we have conversations, and in the past, me and Clutch, there's a few of the old timers, I guess you could call them, that have been there for a long time, that we, agree to disagree on certain things. Clutch is a very passionate person, but, sometimes he thinks Joe fucked him over. But in most cases, he's the guy who knows that he moved from Phoenix, Arizona to train here, and Joe gave him an opportunity to show what he can do in professional wrestling. So he's always going to have, that soft spot for me, whether there's antagonism or blaming me, or as I jokingly used to call them, the Forgotten Sons, because, when they all came back from China, they just all expected to walk in and red carpet treatment. Well, at the time, the 1% took over, and there was other teams that were involved, and there was other things going on. And it's like, I know you guys did a lot for FSW, and hopefully you will continue to do so. But this is where we're at. They're the pinnacle now, not you. Right. And whether that led to turmoil or whatever it was. So now he had, some thoughts on what he's seen, because we have our FSW student page. And every once in a while, Joe goes fucking crazy on the FSW student page because because nobody showed up to help break down a ring or set it up, or we needed them for something. And he sees, like, man, I can't believe you let those motherfuckers do that shit when we were there. Shit like that didn't fly. So he has, understanding of what he felt was needed to get on shows, to get to next levels, to be involved in storylines. And I won't disagree with him that a lot of the younger cats, feel deserving of things without, and I'm not going to say haven't earned anything, because they've earned the right to be on the shows, but it's my show. And if I think you're here, you could think you're here all day. Go find somebody who thinks you're there. If they think you're there and you think that you're being held back, more power to you. I'm not going to hold a grudge against anybody who thinks they're better than I think they are.
Yeah.
Well, it's my show, so I'm going to put who I feel is the best for the role in that spot. So, Nick Xander, goes on Facebook and very passionate. Rookie of the Year. Done great things. Brett the Threat. Annoying motherfucker. But he's done great things. He works hard. He is generally around, despite not wanting to be, to help set up a ring and doing that grunt work. But, he feels maybe coming from that MMA world that, like, he legitimately can kick everybody's ass. You know what I mean? So Brett has the chip on his shoulder, and that's fine. Xander and Brett the Threat are probably going to be, mainstays for a long time. And in the future, to me, they're going to be, like Damian Drake and Matt Vandergriff, or Vandergriff and Jay Vidal. Like, I can watch Jay Vidal and Matt Vandergriff, 100 times.
Yeah.
And probably not be bored. So, the difference there is, Nick feels, hey, I want to be No Limits champion. Fantastic. That's great that you have goals. But that doesn't put you in the No Limits thing. Eli Everfly won a match to be in that spot. Matt Vandergriff, by his body of work, has earned that spot. So okay, Nick Xander, we're going to give you the opportunity. You're going to bang on my door? I'm not even fucking there. What the fuck? You know what I mean? It's like, hit me up. Say, hey, Joe, this is what I believe. And, he wants to do the right thing and he wants to prove it. But you know what? There's 100 guys who say they want to prove it. And then if you give those 100 guys the opportunity, probably 96 or 97 of them are going to fail in that opportunity. Now, is Nick Xander one of the 3 or 4 or 5 guys that might be able to? Absolutely. I'm not going to say he can't be a no limits champion, Nevada state champion, heavyweight champion. You can't do it if you don't get the opportunity. But in most cases, there's only one opportunity for that show.
Right.
And as the rookie of the year, there's a lot of great talent. We have Gregory Sharp. We got Remy Marcel. Hey, Damian Drake don't have a match. He's got to go earn an opportunity. Damian Drake is a tag team champion, a no limits champion. He's wrestling at AAA. He's less than 30 years old. He's wrestled on Ring of Honor. He's wrestled on Impact. And I'm pretty damn sure he wants the match against Hammerstone. He wants the match. But sometimes you have to be patient, and it might not be right. It might not be that you don't get that opportunity. But the opportunities come when they come. Ice Williams got under the skin of Hammerstone. He forced his way into there. Him and the faction, they beat the piss out of Hammerstone. And Hammerstone's not going to take that lightly. They won a handicap match where Ice was injured and couldn't be involved. Well, now Ice is getting his wish. And now he gets to go one-on-one with the champion on the 13th anniversary show. And now it's, step up or step out. Because if he loses that match, now there's going to be somebody else that's going to have to, step in that situation. Spots have opened up. A lot of people felt Toa Leona would be a guy that would be, in contention for the heavyweight championship. A guy like Juicy. Well, Juicy got his opportunity. And, Juicy's taking a little step back, resting up some injuries, working to get in a little better shape. So now the top of that card, who is next in line for a heavyweight championship match against a Hammerstone or Ice Williams? Well, if Ice Williams wins, I'm pretty sure a lot of those guys who have wrestled with him, and if it wasn't for the faction, may have won, like a Vandergriff or Jay Vidal, all those guys, they're going to want that opportunity. Not that Matt Vandergriff, he's been dying to wrestle a Hammerstone. So you got a Damian Drake, you got a Remy Marcel, you got a Sharp, you got Ice Williams, you got Cal Jack, you got Graves, you got Juicy, there's Jacob Austin Young. It's like, what title can he or can't he go after? We have Willie Mack. You know what I'm saying? We got Kenny King. We got, Fresco. We got Funny Bone. We got Cutthroat Cody. It's like, where does Nick Xander fit in there? Is Nick Xander more deserving of a title match than Funny Bone is? You know what I mean? It's like, at the right time he is, but it has to be at the right time. And Nick Xander was looking to force that time by going into the cash in the case. Well, he did the next best thing he could do. Guess what? He's not in the cash in the case. But does he want to be in the Battle Royal, which is a stepping stone to being on the main show? Well, he could challenge Clutch all he wanted, but because of what he has done over the year and having an availability on the show, we're okay with Nick Xander versus Clutch. Clutch has done a lot of things for 9 years, and Nick Xander's done a lot of things for 1 year. Yeah. And, as they say, be careful what you wish for. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, now you're going to get the opportunity, kid. What are you going to do with it?
Yeah, and it's there's a lot of things that could happen, which Sets it up very nicely. Obviously, if Sugar's around, maybe Sugar shows up. And do we see maybe Chase Bell come? And if there's literal interference, maybe Chase helps out. Or
Well, I know Nick Xander was looking under the ring to make sure that Sugar Brown wasn't there. But I believe honestly at this time frame, Clutch, remember, always has to be thought of. When you think of Clutch, you're thinking of Sugar Brown. And, Clutch was an accomplished singles wrestler before he became part of a prominent tag team.
Right.
If the tag team is no more, Clutch, what's driven Clutch throughout the years I've known him is that chip on his shoulder that he feels that I believe he wasn't good enough for certain things. And, the moral of the story is that that's how a lot of people use their motivation. Right. I know for a fact Gregory Sharp felt that I didn't believe he was good enough to get past here. And he felt he was good enough by being here. Now, he could say whatever he wants, and more power to him. But getting the opportunity with Remy, I believe I was 1,000% correct in my assumption of where Hyperstreak belonged on a show. If Hyperstreak wrestled Gregory Sharp one-on-one, Gregory Sharp would murder Hyperstreak.
Yeah.
Because Gregory Sharp now has that chip on his shoulder, outstanding wrestler who wants to prove to the world that he's not the guy to help the younger guys. He's not the guy to hold things in place while other people jump over him. He now has proven, win or lose, that he can be a champion in FSW. Yeah. And I would guess, I didn't think it out and be like, okay, here's guys I think can be champions and here are guys that I can't. Hyperstreak. Oh, no way. You know what I mean? But when you're putting things together, he's not in the forefront of a thought of, hey, where are we going with this? Who are the options that we have going forward? And Gregory Sharp has opened eyes everywhere with what he has done, because you've seen Gregory Sharp has had more success in the last year than he did in his entire 10 years wrestling. Yeah. So he could blame me, he could blame Remy, or he could credit us, or he could do neither. But the bottom line is the situations that happened with me personally and with Remy professionally have catapulted him to where he is at the top of his game.
Yeah, and he had a huge weekend, AEW, not only here, but also in LA. And, the other matches he wrestled on the collective weekend, just amazing to see that transformation in a year from that character, which, it was a character that fans liked, but, there was really nothing behind Hyperstreak. And Gregory Sharp is so complex that it just works. It's so wonderful to see his passion put out there, and that idea of a chip on the shoulder. I mean, that's really driven him. At the same time, has it ever occurred to you how much Remy has grown? Because, Remy's been around for pretty much, the whole run of FSW. Look at him now, man. He's in incredible shape, and he just
yet he still wears a t-shirt in the ring now that he's in the best shape of his life. Figure that out.
Right. But it's amazing his just his ability to really find the heart of that character. And so many people liked the Whirlwind Gentleman that he had the natural fan base, but was a heel there for a little bit with Sal, and he's come this full circle now where you still really can't say that maybe he doesn't have a little bit of that heel in him. Uh, and Greg Sharp is, it looks like Gregory's pulled it out of him to where this could be possibly one of the more hard hitting, brutal matches. We saw that with what Gregory Sharp did with Jay Vidal. Um, could this one be one of those matches that kind of just steals the car?
Without a doubt. I'll tell you, I had definitely had my doubts. The Whirlwind Gentleman. Remy was Remy before Whirlwind Gentleman. Jack slid in, and they meshed together because they were friends. When they came back, Jack and Remy had different ideas of different things, and Jack stepped away. And Remy took what he was trying to do with Cross when they were the 86ers, and I wasn't a big fan. You know what I mean? It was like they were coming across as heels, but they were still those guys, so it was hard to boo them and things like that. And I think with Jack being gone and then Kevin being gone, Remy had to be his own entity. And as his own entity, he was able to do things on his own. And even I told him, he reinvented himself. You take a look at the three, I guess you could say, who are the three living legends in FSW history? Well, you got to say the three guys who appeared on the very first show. Funny Bone, Cody, and Remy Marcel. Those three guys are polar opposites of the three guys who debuted at the FSW initial event in Memorial Day weekend 2009. Yeah. And Remy's change took a long time because the success of the Whirlwind Gentleman kept him, and then he went to China, so he was, on and off for a year or two, whatever. And then the pandemic hit. So now that we've been running shows, he's clicked on all cylinders, and the character is him. I don't look at him anymore and think of the Fro. Like, dude, how could you shave your fucking head? What the fuck are you doing, bro? You know what I mean? And it's like, you know what? You have to change. You have to evolve with the times. And Funny Bone was always the crazy motherfucker. Now he is a jacked crazy motherfucker who now is, he was never the strong guy, but now he's a strong dude who now will still go out of his way to do something insane. And Cody, he's had multiple transformations.
Yeah.
He went from chubby test Cody, the original CTC crash test, to, I used to call him cancer treatment Cody because, the dude lost like 60 pounds and he was thin as a ghost and he looked like he was sick, to now where he's transformed himself and he went from here down to here and now he's here.
Yeah.
And probably weighs more than he did when he was chubby Cody because now he is in the best shape of his life and reinvented himself. And all those reinventions keep people from getting stale.
Yeah.
Because how many shows have we done? You know what I mean? How many shows has Remy Marcel and Cody been on? More so than Funny Bone because he's been around. We use him a little less frequently, things like that. But these guys have been on hundreds of shows. And for you to be a viable option for any match takes a lot.
Yeah.
Look at Cody now. He can go work a tag match with Funny Bone against Nick Gage. He can work, a singles match with Funny Bone. He could go get in a 4-way and wrestle with Davey Richards. He could do all this stuff. And, it's definitely a credit because it's easy for people to give up. People, when they start, their goal is to be a professional wrestler and in most cases go to WWE, be a superstar, be seen as what a Kevin Cross went on to do. When you're now 12, 15, 17 years into the business and you haven't reached that level, it's a lot easier to be complacent and be in way worse shape at 34, 36, 38 than you were. It's a lot harder in regular life to be in better shape at 40, 37 than you are at 25.
Yeah.
So it just shows you how much time and effort these guys are putting in for a passion. I can't say a full-time gig because it isn't a full-time gig. It's still the weekend gig for them.
Right.
And they want to put all their eggs in the basket and hope that, somebody will see me, because there's no doubt all three can be at a higher level. But as we know in the business, it's right place, right time, right connection. And sometimes the right connection, it is the catalyst of being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
Chris Bay doesn't walk into WWE and Sanjay Dutt's not there. Does he get the match on main event and then does immediately Impact decide to sign him?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, how do things work out? Obviously Tom Howard, legendary trainer, probably has his people he knows. Hey, my girl, she can work. She's going to get that tryout before Maserati.
Right.
But then Maserati's got her connections through D'Lo and Kenny and gets looked at from other organizations. And you got to have those connections. You have to know somebody. You can blindly send things in and you're just a needle in the haystack. We saw that AEW weekend. If you wiped out 5 of our regular No Limits guys, and as good as they are, we brought in Jared Diaz and we bring in Casey Navarro. We're having 5 more. We could put 5 more guys in there that are awesome. Yeah. Now, will those 5 excel the way the Damian Drake, the Jay Vidal, Matt Vandegrift, guys like that who've come along recently? Maybe, possibly, probably. Who knows? But the FSW train seems to be a good train to be on. Yeah. And, having a conversation with a guy like Jared Diaz, who's from New York, now in Orlando, hitting me up for dates as we're talking. And it's like, yeah, man, you had this guy before he was a star and that guy. That's why I want to be in FSW. Now, he could be blowing smoke up my ass and it sounds great, but what he's saying is not true. Right. We did bring in a Rich Swann and Ricochet to FSW before anybody in the world knew who the fuck these guys were. The Reno Scum, things like that. All these guys who've gone on to bigger and better things. Toa Leona, Hammerstone. These were guys that were not part of FSW that came from somewhere else, right, where the talent was seen. They got on other people's eyes, and now they're at a different level. And, Vandegrift knows, Orlando for Jared Diaz, he's another guy. There's so many guys, and you have to know people. The West Coast might be a little smaller knit group, but when you're spotlighted on the West Coast, there's more eyes on you because you're not one of 100 guys on the East Coast that people are looking at. You're one of 20. Matt Vandegrift, the 10 best matches he's gotten have been because of what's happened on the West Coast. GCW saw him, using them on the West Coast, sometimes using them on the East Coast. but it was because of the West Coast. Titus Alexander, guy we don't use that often. We use during that weekend, but he's blowing up. Nick
Yep.
Wayne, Washington, blowing up. Chris
Yep.
Bay was West Coast, blowing up, because those guys were like, hey, there's far less of these awesome dudes on the West Coast. On the other one, it's harder to get bookings. It's harder to do this. It's harder to do that. On the West Coast, look at PCW, great company out of California.
Yeah.
Who's their champ? Hammerstone. Who's their cruiserweight champion? Jay Vidal. Who else do they use on a frequent basis? Matt Vandergriff, Titus Alexander, Chris Bay. They used Douglas James before when we did. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
we know who the hot commodities are. And we don't have 1,000 of them to choose from. So those guys are going to get those big spots. You know what I mean? It's like Anthony Green comes to LA for a month, and that dude's booked 30 times because he's a hot commodity. And he was a pretty hot commodity on the East Coast. So now here's a guy you're not going to have that much. Everybody wants a piece of him. We were talking to him about possibly being in the Cash in the Case. Hey, sorry, Joe, love to work for you, but, you know, me and Holiday were both booked that day. Richard Holiday, love to have him on the show. You know, because those guys know coming to the West Coast now broadens their horizons. It's getting a new fan base behind them. Right. And our fan base is strong. You know, what we could pick up from the East Coast is great, but we have to rely on the West Coast. We got to be big in Arizona. We got to be big in California. That way, someday we can go there and people are like, oh, yeah, FSW's coming. Just like on a bigger scale, that's what GCW does.
Right.
You know, they go from LA to Vegas to death matches in Jersey and everywhere in between.
Yeah.
And, man, I don't know how Brett doesn't get sick every week, man. He fucking A. Like, how the hell does he do that shit?
Well, and, you know, I think that Anthony Green's a great example, too, of someone who's been around for a long while, and it's taken him a long time to go through that evolution process to get to where he is now. And, you know, speaking of
he was garbage in Vegas years ago.
Yeah. I mean, it's remarkable. And I think that that's also something that's really kind of, you know, again, social media and having the access on YouTube to a lot of, you know, these guys putting up matches, putting up promos. It's just a different animal that you could go from where you were, you know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago to where you are now, as long as you're willing to put in the time and listen and learn along the way, which, you know, sometimes it's really hard to get people to understand that concept. And I like that you mentioned Tom Howard too, because I liken a Cody and a Remy to how Tom was to us at UPW, a guy who was, you know, had been around for a number of years and didn't have the full, you know, notoriety of WWE or WCW, but was a solid worker that people knew about and was a great teacher. And I think that's the other thing that you know, these guys have in common is that Remy and Cody are great teachers too. So it's really fun to watch the evolution and to see what the possibilities are for them in the future as they continue on this journey. As we start to wrap up, one other person I wanted to ask you about, who I thought had a really good match, was Robbie Litt. He lost to Damian Drake, but are we starting to see a little personality coming out of Robbie?
Yeah, you know, initially at the beginning, you know, the show, I wasn't feeling that well. I was feeling better. So I showed up, you know, but I kind of stayed outside in the back trying to distance myself a little bit and didn't really get to watch a lot of things. And the first thing I heard from a bunch of people was, you know, Damian Drake, Robbie Litt, real good, real good. Remy didn't get to watch a lot of it. So when I woke up Sunday morning, I got I guess you could say, a really long Facebook message from Remy, talking about, matches from the show. And, he gave his critiques like he always, does, that I always, look forward to hearing from. But this is what he wrote. He goes, definitely give Robbie and Damian attention. Was a pretty solid match. And again, Robbie, in my opinion, looks as good, if not better shape. And, he believed that it was there. That was the second thing he wrote about it. And the first thing he wrote was, Robbie Litt is in as good, if not better shape than Damian Drake, and probably the best match Robbie has had, and definitely hung with Brett or Damian.
Yeah.
But, so, that's big praise. What I saw of it, he looked solid. The thing is, Mondo had the chance to do a lot more single stuff because Robbie was hurt in the past. So Mondo got a little run in the Limitless tournament and things like that. Robbie got the opportunity at Natural Born Killers because of his amateur wrestling background. Yeah. But, again, Sky High, they have been in this tag division a long time. And, again, not only do they wrestle the Suavecitos here, hey, they're wrestling him in Arizona and they're wrestling him in, California, Best of the West. And it's like, even though they may not have wrestled each other 100 times here, I know, they're looking to expand. They're looking for different things. So when I figured a good match for Mondo would be against Braxton, it left Robbie out in the cold. So it was like, where can we put him that'll fit? Initially, I was going to put Davion in there, but he wasn't able to make it. He wasn't feeling well. So I really didn't want to do another babyface match. But you know what? I'm trying to have the best match I can. And the best match for Damian Drake on who hasn't been put on the show yet is Robbie Litt. And even though he hasn't had tons of singles matches, they ran together as the Unguided versus Sky High, having a, 8-minute match. They went over as always. But, it was entertaining. It was fun. And Robbie showed that, here's another guy that when you need a contender for the No Limits Championship match, a lot of these tag teams were put together because of the fact we had too many No Limits guys. Right. So you can look at the Suavecitos. You can look at Sky High. They were a tag team and they're brothers, but again, they were also guys that could fly on the No Limits scene. Right. And at the time, Laz and Adriel, we put them together because of that situation. And even though Jacob Austin Young and Cody, Jacob Austin Young's a No Limits guy. And then, we still had the Ice Williams out there. And we still had Matt Vandergriff. And we put him with Damian Drake, even though, just because they wanted to be. And I felt they'd be a good tag team. But it seemed like it would fit, in that situation with tag teams. So they became a tag team. So now you look at the No Limits division, and it's far more loaded than any division we have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and it's exciting to see the these guys stepping up. It's just
Nick
phenomenal.
Xander.
Yeah. It's
Bodie.
Well, I was just going to say, and you've got, not only do you have this now, but you have what's coming down the line. God knows that Bodie might end up, being at 18, maybe even younger, the youngest No Limits champion in a couple years. So, it's very exciting to see, and also you never know who the next class of people are going to be in that in that chain produced by the school. So I mean
Right. And we
that's
also have guys we didn't even talk about No Limits. Eli Everfly, Gatson, Wise Guy, a Jared Diaz.
yep.
There's 20 guys who literally, there's 20, let's say 15 who could be No Limits champion. Would anybody
Well,
be shocked that Eli Everfly was a No Limits champion? Nope.
nope. And you also have some names that are even bigger names now, like Danny
Chris Bay
Limelight,
again.
Chris Bay. Yeah, yeah. It seems like Bay can just get any championship in your
Right.
company.
There's no limits in Chris Bay.
Yeah, but yeah, Danny Limelight, Jordan Cruz. There's just a hell of a lot of good talent out there right now.
Just got a message from Jordan Cruz looking to get back in. He's always looking to get back in. And again, it's the numbers game, unfortunately.
Yeah. And even guys like sometimes like a Jack Cartwheel, even it's
That dude's
amazing.
always, yeah, he was not available at all AEW weekend. Titus Alexander,
Yeah, it's for all
it's
the
really
years.
a who's who
Yeah,
in that no limits. Willie Mack, just because he's 280, we know Willie Mack's a no limits guy. Funny Bone, even though he's got the muscle, he's a no limit. He could be in the no limits because no limits isn't just because of your size; it's because of the things you do inside the ring. Hey,
yeah.
Davey Richards could be no limits champion next month. Who knows?
And kudos to David Richards too. There's another guy who, everything he did this past, at the collective weekend, just some good work. And it's interesting too. A guy like that can work a Hammerstone, or could work a Jay Vidal or a Jacob Austin. Davey Richards is that good, and it seems like what we're seeing nowadays is that you're getting this hybrid wrestler almost who you can use either way. I think guys like when Kevin Owens was on the independent circuit, I think guys like that and Sami Zayn, those guys started breaking that mold, and now you're seeing a lot more of these guys who just they have charisma, personality, they can do things that a lot of guys can't do.
TJP, yo,
Yeah,
forgot about him.
it's amazing. It's amazing. As we wrap up, Joe, any last words for the audience as we head into this final week before the storm comes next week?
I got a few things got to do because again, being back in time, after I talk to you today, I got to head over to the Nugget. Got to settle up. Got to pay for the room on the 19th. We've locked in August 21st, and to be honest with you, once getting my car worked on Thursday for not that it's broke, but I got to get my 2-year checkup, whatever. It's like I'm trying to do everything by Wednesday and Thursday. That way, Friday and Saturday, I could just enjoy the weekend off, and then Sunday, boom, move. 1,000%. We're selling some tickets already for the anniversary. Obviously, it's going to be a big ticket. But now I got to get on the horn, talk to the people. Hey, how many tickets you need? Got to get everything in check. This anniversary show. You know what? People talk about, FSW, yeah, Joe DeFalco, he wants to only push the outside guys, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, my No Limits Champions FSW guy, my Nevada State Champions and FSW guy, my tag teamer trained from the beginning FSW guys. My heavyweight champion has been with me for 10 years. He's an FSW guy. I don't care that he just lives in Phoenix. We push the best guys. If you're not the best guys, you're not getting what you want. You know what I mean? And, we're looking forward to the future. And, despite what Clutch says, yeah, it's hard to churn out because, when he was the rookie involved in the Rookie of the Year, him, Greg Romero, Jacob Boston Young, there was 3 dudes there, that could have been Rookie of the Year. Well, this year we could have had 3 dudes that were Rookie of the Year: Nick Xander, Brett the Thread, or Bodie. They just as all 3 could have been as easily, the Rookie of the Year. Sure, there's some years a little less than the others, but there's always going to be, 2, 3, 4 guys that come out that surprise you and, move along a lot quicker, and if you want to wrestle, hey, we're equal opportunity, place. We're going to give everybody an opportunity, and if you can hang, great. If you can't hang, well, at least the dream that you had, at least you took a shot. And it isn't for everybody, Me being the biggest wrestling fan in the world, I just never wanted to be a wrestler. I felt I would be better suited for other things, and I think I'm correct. You know what I mean? I'm not sure I would be in position to be a Nevada State champion anytime. I still can't flip over, so forget it. Got no shot.
Well, on that note, everyone, just think that that could be the Vince McMahon route for Joe DeFalco to get involved. Joe DeFalco versus Remy Marcel for the Nevada State Championship. It sounds beautiful.
There you go. Well, it almost came to that a while back.
Just one, just one potato in the match.
I think Shane O'Mac wants the shot. Hang on, we need a timeout. One of my NFTs are dropping. I need to go on the computer for a second. Hang on, timeout.
Oh man. Everyone, again, remember FSW Network, $6.99 a month. You can see the show that we just talked about, and the show on the 19th, the anniversary show, is the 13th anniversary show. I believe 6:00 start time, if I'm not correct. If I'm not mistaken, is that correct?
Yeah, we're gonna go with 6:00. Being it's the summer, kids are home, whatever. But let's get it at 6 instead of 7. Doesn't have to be at 10:00 by the time you're out there. You're out at 9:00 by the latest. Do a little meet and greet at 4 and 4:30. 5:00 doors will open. We got an 8-match card. We'll have, as we've stated, we've put it out. All the titles will be on the line. Hammerstone versus Ice Williams. We announced Remy Marcel versus Gregory Sharp in a no-holds-barred match. We have rematch, the new champion, Matt Vandergrift versus Jay Vidal. If we had more time or it was a 2-day event, I might want to make that a 60-minute match. But, right now, something still may change. Maybe we'll do a best 5 out of 9 falls or something like that. But we got Cal Jack and Brett the Threat in a submissions-only match.
Yeah.
Just added Nick Xander versus Clutch in a singles match. And then we have the Cash in the Case ladder match with Lazarus, Ricky Tenacious, Action Braxton, Damian Drake, Jacob Boston Young, and 1, 2, or 3 names to be named later. And we will have information on the Women's Championship and how it will be involved at the anniversary show. The pre-show Battle Royal, the Nick Bockwinkel Memorial Battle Royal. Another option I had was the winner of that Battle Royal gets a spot in the Cash in the Case. Yeah. So there's still a lot of things we could do. If I really need a 9th guy in the Cash in the Case, that's where we could be. Tickets available at fswvegas.com. Also, listen to me on the Mark Hoke Show, I guess, on Sunday morning at 8 a.m. on KDWN. I guess it's 7:20 a.m. Who knows? But good news is I talk a lot, so the show ends up being good because I talk a lot. I got to tell the other guys what's going on in the real world of wrestling. They're just fanboys, so I have to help them out. I carry the show.
Well, there's no doubt that you carry this show, but again, Shane O'Mac at any point may make a run in. So
he may take a run in and then get on with you, and then leave after 5 minutes because of the NFT implosion.
Oh, Joe, you don't get it, man. We're just gonna take clips and make those NFTs, and then he's gonna explode.
There you go. He'll sell them for $3,000 each.
Yeah.
LV Future Stars at yahoo.com. If you want NFTs, we'll sell you any of them.
Oh, man. Well, everyone, thank you for tuning in again this week. And please enjoy the rest of your week. And we'll see you guys next time.